Hello, fight fans, and welcome back to Monday Night Fight Talk. I am your host, Dylan Brewski, and I'm good to be back. I feel so good to be back. I'm very happy to be back with you guys talking MMA as I always do. I know I had a bit of a big layoff there. Part of it was because we didn't have really any fights to discuss, especially in the UFC with that month-long break. But right before that, I had COVID, and it hit me pretty hard, so I was unable to do a show before then on the Strickland Cannonier fight night. And also, just the past few weeks have been a little crazy, so I was unable to do some shows early this year as well. I apologize for all that. Hopefully now things have settled down and we can get going on this on a, for the most part, consistent basis where I'm bringing you fight talk every single Monday. But let's dive into UFC 283. It was a very, very fun fight card from start to finish. The prelims were actually on fire with some great knockouts. One of those I will be talking about for sure. I mean, the Botham brothers both getting fantastic finishes in their debut in their home country on the same night. Absolutely terrific. Watching Israel Botham get the flying knee on Terrence McKinney. I love Terrence McKinney. He trains just a few hours away from me over in Spokane. I'm over in Western Washington, him in Eastern Washington. So I always root for Terrence McKinney, but still Israel Botham with that flying knee, highlight reel knockout in this early on in the year, early candidate for knockout of the year with that one. And then his brother Gabriel later on the regular prelims getting a very, very quick rear naked choke win. Or no, it was either rear naked choke or guillotine. I'm kind of blanking right now, but he also got a very convincing win very early versus Liz. So congratulations to both of them. That's very awesome to see both of them, and you could see how much they care for each other with both of their locker room reactions right afterwards. Very awesome to see. Another thing I wanted to touch on, Jailton Almeida is an absolute freak of nature. That dude is horrifying. He is going to be a very serious problem for a very long time in both the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions. The guy's technique on the ground is just absolutely unmatched. To be able to dismantle someone like that who is 30 pounds heavier, a ranked heavyweight in Shamir Abdurakhimov, is just absolutely outlandish. And in his last fight, he beat Parker Porter in convincing fashion. And I believe Parker Porter was like at the 265 mark. Like, he was heavily outweighed in that fight. And Almeida just dominated him. This dude is a serious threat to become a champ in the light heavyweight division for a while, like defend both titles. So I'm very excited to see where his career takes him, because he is just absolutely fantastic in every single fight that I have seen him in. Just absolute domination. So congratulations to him on getting another victory. But now let's get into the main card. Talk about all the main card fights. A few of them I'm going to go over pretty quick because they were over pretty quick. Starting off with the first fight, Johnny Walker getting a solid top 10 win over Paul Craig. Entertaining way to start off the main card. Two guys that have been up and down in their careers. Both have had very high highs. Johnny Walker, I believe, at one point in his career was a top 5 light heavyweight, or was competing to be a top 5 light heavyweight. Paul Craig has beat He's beat Jamal Hill. He's beat Magomed Ankalaev. He's got huge wins on his resume. But then he has nights like 2 nights ago where he loses to Johnny Walker. He loses to Volkan Ozdemir early on in 2022. But in this fight, wasn't a long fight, like I said in the beginning. Johnny Walker got caught. He threw a body kick, got it caught, and then had the reach to still reach over and the power to knock down Paul Craig with the right hand on 1 foot, and then landed a big flurry of strikes, finishing off Paul Craig fairly early. So congratulations to Johnny Walker for getting that win over a top 10 opponent, maybe possibly putting himself back into the top 10 of the light heavyweight division. We'll have to wait and see. I believe later on today, or tonight, I should say, the rankings will come out, the updated rankings. Next fight up, Jessica Andrade absolutely destroys Lauren Murphy. This fight was tough to watch as Jessica Andrade was flat out better in each individual. You look at any factor of this fight, Jessica Andrade was better than Lauren Murphy. I think that the corner of Lauren Murphy should have protected their fighter better and stopped that fight after the second round. There was absolutely no reason for Lauren Murphy to go out in that third round. We know how tough Lauren Murphy is. That's not a question. It's not a fact of she's quit in the past and she wanted to show everybody that she's not a quitter. No, we know how tough Lauren Murphy is. There was absolutely no reason to go out in that third round. You didn't gain anything by going to a decision against Jessica Andrade versus having your corner throw in the towel. There was nothing gained. So I really didn't see a point in that third round. But at the same time, it goes to show how good Jessica Andrade is. She is absolutely fantastic. After last night, I love what she did. She basically called out Valentina Shevchenko and Yang Wei Li. She said, whatever one you want to give me a title shot. And I completely agree with her on the strawweight. Strawweight right now is very up in the air. Yang Wei Li just won her title back. Carla Esparza is not getting an immediate rematch because she got absolutely dominated. Rose, I think, needs to still win a fight. She needs to fight in order to get a shot at the title again. Amanda Lemos lost to Jessica Andrade in 2022. You look, Marina Rodriguez just lost to Amanda Lemos. So right now, I think, honestly, the fight that makes the most sense in the strawweight division is a rematch between Yang Wei Li and Jessica Andrade. It makes the most sense in my eyes to make that the next strawweight title fight. Plus, flyweight is a little bit more... It's still up in the air. Granted, Alexa Grasso is already challenging Valentina Shevchenko for the title in the beginning of March. That was announced either earlier this week or late last week. I can't remember exactly when that was announced, but there's already a flyweight title fight. Plus, you have the Manon Fior's, and you have the winner of Aaron Blanchfield and Talia Santos. Believe that's next month. In about a month, those two are going to go at it. So I feel like flyweight is in a little bit of a cluster, but it's more there's too many people that have a case for fighting for the title, where the strawweight, there's not really anyone aside from Jessica Andrade, at least in my opinion, that has a true case at getting another title shot. So I think personally, if I'm Dana White, if I'm the matchmakers in the UFC, the next person Yang Wei Li is defending that title against is Miss Jessica Andrade, and I would be very thrilled to see that fight again. But now let's move on to Gilbert Burns making very, very easy work of Neil Magny. I have always liked Neil Magny. What I'm about to say is absolutely no disrespect towards him. I think he is a fantastic fighter. He's got the longevity. He's got everything. Neil Magny is fantastic. When this fight was even announced, I was like, why? Gilbert Burns at this point is just that much better than Neil Magny. And this, unfortunately, was exactly how I thought this fight was going to turn out. I saw this fight turning out exactly like this, with Gilbert Burns completely dominating Neil Magny. Neil Magny just isn't what he used to be, and that's okay. He's been around the fight game for a very long time. He's had a successful career. He's still a great fighter, but he's not Gilbert Burns. He's not on Gilbert Burns' level. Gilbert Burns is a top contender and has been for a while, for good reason, because he does stuff like that. Also, I love the call out at the end. I think Colby Covington is a perfect fight for Gilbert Burns. Both guys really need a top 5 win in order to get back, put themselves back in that championship picture, especially with the announcement of Usman Edwards 3 being in March, on March 18th in London. If Leon Edwards beats Kamaru Usman again, the welterweight division is now restarted, basically. It is wide open. Colby Covington doesn't have 2 losses versus Leon Edwards. Gilbert Burns didn't get outclassed by Leon Edwards. There's countless. You got Belal Muhammad, who's now coming into the picture, who, by the way, if Colby Covington says no to Gilbert Burns should be looking to fight Belal Muhammad. I think those two going at it is an absolutely fantastic idea. I think they'd both be great. I think it'd be a very entertaining fight. So, first option should 100% Gilbert Burns versus Colby Covington. If that does not work out, Gilbert Burns versus Belal Muhammad. That way it's getting both guys a serious shot at becoming a title contender, if they're not already. All right, now let's get into some title fights. The first ever quadrilogy, or whatever it is, for the flyweight title. Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno looked absolutely fantastic in this fight, given the circumstances surrounding the lead up to this fight. As we all know, he was a part of James Krause's gym. We all know what's going on with James Krause's gym. Brandon Moreno, unfortunately, had to go and find a new gym, and he found a great one in Saif Saud to coach him and to get him prepared for this fight, because he looked great. They implemented a great game plan versus Figueiredo, and Figgy just looked a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not sure if it was just the output that Brandon Moreno was coming with, because usually, I mean, these guys have fought 3 times before 2 nights ago, so you would think Figueiredo would be prepared for the output that Brandon Moreno brings to the table. I don't know if it was the weight cut that just got to him. I mean, Figueiredo is getting 35. He's mid-30s now, and he's always struggled to get down to flyweight, hence him doing the most dramatic bantamweight announcement, moving up to bantamweight announcement. I thought he was retiring, and I was sitting there freaking out. I've never seen anybody take off their gloves to announce they're moving up a weight division. So that gave me my heart stopped a little bit. I was all like, what are you doing? And then he just announces he's moving up to bantamweight. But back to the fight. Again, Brandon Moreno looked absolutely fantastic. And a little bit unfortunate ending. It was an unfortunate ending with having the doctor stoppage. It was kind of like the anticlimactic. It was like, all right, the fight's over. Brandon Moreno won. And especially with the crowd. That being said, don't be like that crowd. Don't be throwing stuff at a fight. I get you want your hometown guy to win. I totally understand that. And that's totally reasonable. But throwing stuff at him, throwing popcorn, throwing beers at him on the way out, I mean, that was really, come on. Let's be better as fans in that sense. It's not worth it. But still, nonetheless, Moreno, congratulations on winning back the flyweight title. Congratulations to Figgy for announcing he's moving up. I think we are officially closing the door on this rivalry with Figgy moving up to bantamweight. but these two need to be recognized for the rest of their careers and even beyond that. These two saved the flyweight division from complete collapse. After Demetrius Johnson left the UFC when in that weird trade that the UFC and ONE did for Ben Askren and Demetrius Johnson, there was serious talk about the flyweight division not existing for very much longer, and these two are the sole reason that the flyweight division is still here. So I think, without a doubt, no matter where they go from here in the rest of their careers, they need to be recognized for that. Everybody in the flyweight division needs to recognize, everyone in the UFC and MMA needs to recognize that these two saved that division and need to be recognized for it. So congratulations to the both of them for putting on one of the greatest rivalries, 4 amazing fights, basically all in a row for Deiveson Figueiredo's sake. Brandon Moreno did have the one Kai Kara France fight, but other than that, these two have just faced each other for the last 4 years now, and produced great fights in every single one of them. Congratulations to both. And speaking of congratulations to both, the main event of the evening, Glover Teixeira taking on Jamal Hill. This was without a doubt an unbelievable performance from both of these guys. But man, Jamal Hill he silenced everybody, me included. I really thought this was going to be kind of a fight where Jamal Hill, he had a chance to win this fight. And without a doubt, I thought Glover should have been the favorite, especially after Jamal's last fight where Thiago Santos was taking him down. But he showed tremendous improvement from that fight, defending 15 of 17 takedowns from Glover Teixeira. That's very unheard of. People do not do that well against a Glover Teixeira type grappler. Kept himself out of danger for the most part as well. There were a few times like Glover Teixeira got him mounted, I believe at least once, maybe twice, in both of the takedowns that he got. And I was like, this is not where you want to be with Glover Teixeira. No matter how late in the fight it is, I don't care how tired Glover is, how battered he is, he can submit you. He's Glover freaking Teixeira. But Hill was able to stay composed, get himself free, and again, for the most part, he kept himself out of danger. He got clipped a few times, but also when you get clipped but you have the striking ability of Jamal Hill, you could see that Glover wasn't rushing in. Glover wasn't like, oh, I clipped him, I gotta go, because he was afraid of being knocked out. And rightfully so. Jamal Hill hits like a freaking Mack truck. And feeding off of that point, he hits like a Mack truck, and he lands almost 60% of his strikes when he threw 419 of them. That's unreal to do against a veteran like Glover Teixeira, and just in general, to land at that high of a volume, or at that high of a clip with that high of a volume, is absolutely unbelievable. He looked great in this fight. Glover, one tough cookie, man. You can't say enough about Glover Teixeira. Not only taking 232 significant strikes, but also at 43 years old, with years and years of damage done to him. Like he said in his post-fight interview where he did announce his retirement, he's a little too tough for his own good. You can't be taking that many shots at 43 years old. Congratulations again to both of these guys. Jamal Hill being the new light heavyweight champion, and Glover Teixeira for an absolutely fantastic career. You can't say enough about this guy. I mean, I saw a stat today. It was a tweet. I don't remember who it was, so I apologize for not giving props to this person because I just don't remember who it is. But they said that the ranking came out about 10 years ago. Glover Teixeira 10 years ago was the number 4 ranked light heavyweight. He retires as the number 2 light heavyweight in the world, and he never, at no point in his career, was he not ranked in the top 15. that is the career that Glover Teixeira just put behind him. So a true legend of the sport, probably, hopefully, is a future Hall of Famer. I think he deserves to be. But congratulations to both of these guys again. Glover for the career, Jamal for winning the title. And then last one I want to go over. We had two legends call it a career. It was not only Glover Teixeira, as we all know, Mauricio Shogun Rua also called it a career. We saw two legends, two former light heavyweight champions go out on the same night in both of their home native countries of Brazil. It was such a great thing to see. Unfortunately, both of them lost. I think people are being a little too hard on Ior Potieria. He celebrated. He won. He beat a legend in Shogun. I think it wasn't disrespectful. I think dancing and being happy that you won a fight against a legend like Shogun is a proper response. He did nothing disrespectful directed at Shogun Rua, so I think we need to lay off Potieria a little bit, but let's get back to these guys because that's where the attention should be. Shogun Rua, Glover Teixeira, two absolutely fantastic careers. The UFC is now putting the Pride Days completely behind him, as Shogun was the last fighter to fight in Pride to come over to the UFC. We have no more Pride fighters left in the UFC. And not only did those two retire, we also got the great announcement that the King of Rio, arguably the greatest featherweight of all time, Jose Aldo, is getting inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. 100% valid. I don't care what anybody says. This guy, I don't think anybody should be arguing the fact that Jose Aldo deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you are, I mean, come on. Without a doubt, this is a no-brainer when it comes to Jose Aldo. He is without a doubt one of the greatest fighters of all time. Jose Aldo is in the UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, everything that he did for the UFC when bringing in those smaller weight classes. I mean, you had a dominant champion for so long. Jose Aldo just controlled the featherweight division. He had a stranglehold on the featherweight division for years. And he is without a doubt one of the greatest of all time. Much deserved recognition. Loved that it was in his home country of Brazil. I mean, he's the King of Rio. How do you not announce that in Brazil? I can't wait I believe they do the Hall of Fame induction in July. I can't wait to see him walk across that stage and officially be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. Congratulations to all three of these guys. The only one that did not get the proper recognition on this night was Glover Teixeira, because almost all the fans left before his post-fight press conference. That is absolutely ridiculous. How do you not stay there and support Glover Teixeira? I know you're upset about the fact that both of your champions, or both people hoping to be champion or retain their title, lost. I get that's frustrating, but you don't leave. Especially when Glover is 43 years old. Me and my dad watched it together, and we were kind of sitting there before the fight happened, and we're like, Glover loses, he might be done. And then, lo and behold, he was done. You got to stay for that. Glover, I feel sorry for you, man. I hope that you eventually do get the proper recognition that you deserve. You're a future Hall of Famer. You're a former champion. You're one of the best of all time. So it sucks that you had to go out in a way where no one was there to witness it, especially in your home country. But nonetheless, still congratulations to all three of those guys on fantastic careers. Jose Aldo being a Hall of Famer, Shogun and Glover might be following right behind him. We don't know. Shogun and Glover both have serious cases to be UFC Hall of Famers. I would not be upset at the fact of either of them if not both of them, making the Hall of Fame. And congratulations again to Brandon Moreno, to Jamal Hill for winning titles, getting championship gold around their waist. But that's all I have for you all this week. We have no fight night next week, so there's nothing to predict right now. And then the week after, so next week we will be going over predictions for the worst fight night main event ever. I just don't like this one. Derek Lewis and Sergey Spivak, especially, like, I get it, catering to the South Korean crowd, the Asian crowd, because this was originally supposed to be scheduled in South Korea. But man, to put Derek Lewis and Sergey Spivak at 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific main card, that's a tough one to stay up for, especially with the fight card behind it. But I will. I'm probably going to stay up for it, especially because I'm on the West Coast. It's not too terrible for me. But thank you all so much for listening. You can find me on social media at Monday Night Fight Talk for Instagram, at MN Fight Talk for Twitter. You can go back and watch the Bolt that I was just on yesterday, going over the divisional round games in the NFL, predicting our conference championship matchups that are still, when I recorded this, it will be to be determined. We still don't know one last playoff spot as the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers are playing right now. Again, this is pre-recorded if you did not know that. But until then, you can also find me on the Emmett J. Savoris Show, or maybe I believe it's actually just the Emmett Savoris Show. I did a show with him a few days ago on Friday, going over my predictions for the NFL divisional round. It was a lot of fun, but if you're just into Fight Talk, totally understand. You can find me here, same time, same place next week for Monday Night Fight Talk.